Hi, my name's Ella McCrystal and this is The New Mind. Today's guest is one of my favourite people, actually. And I've known Pat for a long time from Instagram. And we've had a few talks on Instagram Lives and YouTube, I think. But today, Patrick Killian, artist, is in the room with me. He's come all the way from Wales. He's actually come from another country to be here. What a legend. So we're going to talk about his work, but we're also going to talk about how he went from a humble beginning to having the likes of Mike Tyson sit next to him and sign his artwork, which is quite an interesting story. I'm sure you'll all agree. So welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Coming all the way.
That's the nice introduction.
Well, it's a true introduction, isn't it? Because you are one of my favourite people.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, because you're very kind, very humble, very likeable. We've spoken a lot today about all of these wonderful qualities that you possess. But also your lifestyle and your job is very, very different to a lot of people in the sense that you basically, specialise, yes, in mainly sport, but predominantly boxing. And as a result of that, you have stood next to, shoulder to shoulder with some of your idols, I guess, because you've always loved boxing yourself, haven't you? Been a boxer?
Yeah.
Amateur?
Used to box and, it's nice to be, to do what I do now, to be honest. It's like a dream in a way.
It is.
Well, it was a dream and then it's become a reality, which is nice, you know. It's nice to...
You mentioned Bob Proctor earlier when we were chatting before we started recording, and you said something about it kind of inspired you a little bit to do what you could do to make your life what you wanted it to be, to put it, you know, in simple terms. So just talk about that a little bit. Tell me about that, you know, a couple of sentences of that, and then we'll go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, I started listening, you know, I'd say over 10 years back, to various speakers, personal development guys. And Bob Proctor was special, you know, specifically Bob Proctor. And I found different things that he said it just opened my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we'll probably come into this, but I can remember him. I remember painting a piece one day and he was over 10 years back saying, like, you can be where you want, you can go where you want. And I thought, he's right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump on a plane and take a piece.
Take a piece of
art. And I did, you know. That's, yeah, and it opened another door.
I suppose what he was saying about that was that the way the brain works is the more that you cultivate something that you want, the more you focus on it, visualize it, and then do the stuff that you need to do to make it happen, the more you then see the other opportunities. It's that one door opens and then another 10 open. You know, I know people say one door opens and another closes, but actually the reality is it's a domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's where you start thinking a bit bigger.
Yeah, it is. Without a doubt. Yeah.
So Bob Proctor's got a lot to be thanked for, really.
Definitely. And then Jim Ron, there's a couple of different ones, you know, just listening and thinking, you know, yeah, I could do that and just travel a little bit more and just open doors.
There was no resistance then at that point. You didn't think, oh, but what if?
Maybe, but thinking about it on the specific time that was, probably not. I just thought, you know what, he's right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just book a ticket, a flight, and actually go and see and just go. And as a matter of fact, the time we're talking about, Amir Khan was fighting Canelo, and I remember I through all these contacts that I'd built, I actually contacted somebody of Amir Khan's team, and I said, look, if I come over to Vegas, would you think Amir Khan will sign my piece? And he said, yeah, no problem, Pat, come over.
Is that easy?
So then I thought, you know what, I got to take a chance.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that's where that happened.
But go all the way back, because obviously before we get to this point where you're doing all the big stuff and you're meeting these incredible athletes that, again, you were a boxing fan, you know, you were just a normal little boy and you had an interest in pens and pencils.
That's well said. You know, that's it.
You really did. You wanted to.
Yeah. So if I go back, you know, I grew up in a little village called Cwm Carn in South Wales, about 25 miles or 25 minutes from Cardiff, and very small village. And my mum said that, you know, from the age of 4, she can remember me asking for a pen or a pencil. That's all I wanted to do. And it was quite a natural talent in school where, you know, I would just be doodling stuff and my drawings would be on the wall, that sort of thing, you know. And that's how that's how it started. You
just
know,
a lovely little hobby that you...
I just enjoyed, always wanted to draw.
Yeah. Innate in your it must be just innate in your predisposition.
Yeah, it was a natural talent, you know, and it was throughout school. It was always there. I was never really academic, but
were you encouraged?
Without a doubt. Honestly, my mother and father were just superb. Lots of encouragement from my mum and dad.
So important.
Yeah, it was. And but, you know, from an early age, just I always remember drawing, going to show my mum, going to show my dad.
No.
And they were always very supportive if I needed anything. And in my bedroom at the time, my dad made me like a drawing table, which I always remember. It was a drawing table that he'd done for me.
He made it.
So I was So I was always in my room doing stuff, you know.
So before computer games, really?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose there were a few around, the old school stuff, but you were more into drawing than anything else. But then at school, was that a sort of were you pushed? Did the teachers push you to go?
Yeah, like it was just art for me. You know, I could do the basic stuff, you know, the English, the maths, but it was art. Art and graphics was my thing in school.
Yeah,
that was what I enjoyed doing. And apart from that, sport. Obviously, I loved sport, but at that time when I was in school, sport PE wasn't even a GCSE.
No, you're right.
I think it became a GCSE. I think 1991, the year I left.
Yeah.
So you know, it was as long as I could go to the art class at the end of the day, that was what I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Mr. Morgan was my teacher.
Is he still around?
I think he is. Yeah, I'd love to see him actually. Yeah.
Oh, he could be in your area still, wouldn't he, or thereabouts?
Yeah, probably.
Facebook.
If he's still alive.
Do a bit of Facebook stalking, see if you can find him.
Yeah.
And then show him this podcast. Shout out Mr. Morgan,
yeah.
the original gangster. So you then pursue art at school, do really well, I'm sure. But then you got involved in boxing.
So I left school with an A in GCSE, not an A star. I just had an A. I don't. But
did they have A stars then?
I'm not sure.
I don't think they
did actually.
No.
So I was quite pleased, you know, to leave with that. You know, I had the English, basic stuff. You know, I think I failed most of the others. Graphics, I had a B in graphics. C in English. I didn't do very well, but
not
you know,
too bad though, Pat.
Sorry,
that's not too bad though.
My thing was art. That was just my mum. You know, my mum and dad. They knew that as well. There was so much encouragement for that, and so I left school. I was very lucky that I had a really good bunch of friends, a good bunch of peers. All went on to college, and I think that's probably the only reason why I went to college is because all my friends were going to college, and I thought, well, the only thing I could do was art, and so I went and done it was called a BTEC in art and design.
Aww.
And I can remember I started that, and that's where it started, you know. So did that for about 2 years, and then went on from there, and then did a BTEC higher national diploma in illustration. But the thing was then, after I did it in wildlife illustration, believe it or not, but they were so good to me on the course because they could see my sporting background and I was doing paintings of the sports. They never It was design illustration.
So they didn't make you do the wildlife?
No, it was wildlife design or wildlife stroke design illustration. So they were very open to the fact that I had this other interest.
Yeah.
I love painting the wildlife because I like capturing the detail.
Yes.
But they were very open to that. And my final sort of projects were like a series of sports greeting cards, which were 3D. And you know, they were published about a year later after I left university. I didn't stay for a degree. I just did it up to BTEC. Because at that time, I just felt that, you know, I didn't think that it would be beneficial for me to do a degree. I just felt that I wanted.
Is it now even?
Well, I don't think it is.
Look at your lifestyle.
When I look back and people say to me, I don't think even college is that. The only thing that college was good for me, I feel, we had a guy come in called Martin Ridley, who influenced me quite a bit because he was a wildlife artist. But what Martin would do, he would come in as a business sense and he would tell us how he got his work published.
Important
because
to know.
He was very good. He was having his work published as greeting cards, as calendars, and a lot of other. You know, he was good, and he was a good guy to know.
Yeah.
So he would advise you to say, look, you know, you send your work to publishers, and they can let you know whether this is going to be published or not. And on leaving, you know, my mum and dad let me. So I did that for 2 years. But the unusual fact, and if I went back a little bit, I started boxing.
Yes.
At the time, I started going straight into college from school. So I started boxing at 16. So that's where the story then sort of links in to the way the sport and the drawing. So where doing the BTEC National, I was even doing drawings of fighters then at 17, 18, and then I sort of started an amateur career in boxing. And that's where then I sort of had, you know, I had some dreams, I think. Because I was boxing and I sort of fell in love with boxing, to be honest. Training every day. And it became my life. With discipline. It did become my life. Gary Butcher and Dennis Rogers. Dennis had passed away. Gary's still alive. He's 84. They were mentors. So they got a club together in 91. The year, I think it was either 91 or 92, but it must have been 91 because that year. I had spent all my summer helping build our gym. Because first I was going to his garage. I was going to Dennis's garage. And his son Jason was training me. And Dennis. And there was a lot of us going to this garage. And he would take us down a field. This is 1991. He would take us down a field and he would tie a rope up and we would spar. But then what happened... Everybody stopped going. And I was the only one that kept going to his garage. Why did they stop? I don't know. I just stopped going. And then, so Dennis then started to take me to local boxing gyms to actually spar. And then Dennis and Gary eventually bought a club together in Cumcarn. It was lovely for me because it was literally like, it was 100 meters. Wow. The boxing gym was 100 meters from my house. So, and Gary was a great guy. He was a businessman. And Gary, he had a local chip shop. He had a pallet business, and I was peeling the spuds in his chip shop, and then I was. In the pallet yard, repairing pallets. So
The nostalgia, it gets you every time, doesn't it? Take a sip of the coffee. I've seen that with
My
you
mate
today.
said, he said, is she going to make you cry?
I haven't done a thing. This is not my fault. You're just a very nostalgic. I think when you think about those days, it just makes you emotional. But it's nice. It's because you're reflecting on those easy, carefree, everything's so much easier for, and you had a very happy time, didn't you, growing up?
Lucky.
And very lucky. And you said that a lot today already before we recorded. So I think when you look back over it all, it just makes you feel all emotional, which is like pumps out his chest. So yeah, so you're working, grafting with Gary.
So I was very lucky there because Gary. So it was him and Gary in the gym, but they take me everywhere, to sparring and stuff, and
So happy days.
It was a good time. And
you helped build the gym?
Helping paint the gym in 1991. So it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was good memories.
And actually, I suppose it's a turning point for your life because, like you say, it links into what you now do with the painting because, you've got the artistry, but then you've got this massive love for boxing. And also all this lovely, like I said, this nostalgia with it as well. Like it's such a happy part of your life.
So at that time then, I'm sorry I filled up there.
Well, don't apologise. People get emotional talking about life.
So after we'd set all that up, about a year later, I went to college. So obviously I'd had a couple of fights and I was winning. I was doing good. And then I went to art college in Carmarthen. So that was where I did the HND illustration. So in Carmarthen again, I had a good bunch of friends there, made friends straight away. And so I was doing an illustration course, but also, doing my love of boxing.
Yeah.
So I was in Carmarthen boxing gym with Kevin Evans, who went on to the Commonwealth Games, and a number of others. And then... yeah, it's just a great time. Looking back,
And were you still...
and boxing for my country then, and just enjoying it, just doing what I love. I was doing my in art college.
Yeah.
And then training.
Literally living your dream.
Yeah, just training, and so and then it goes from there. Then, like I said about doing the greeting cards, doing the sports. They were very good with me, letting me do my own thing. And after the 2 years, like I said, I had some stuff published straight away. I got into there was I don't know if you remember the car dealer called Empress Car Sales, and they commissioned me my first sort of big piece of Steve Robinson. That was in 1995. And I was more or less straight after I'd left uni, and my mum and dad were so good, like, because they didn't even charge me anything for because that's what happened then, and they would let me stay at home and just slowly build up a reputation. And the good thing was at that time I had the Prince's Trust. The Prince's Trust, I had a grant from them.
Yeah, they were great back then,
so
weren't they?
I had I bought an art chair with it. I think I might have bought unless my mum and dad bought it me. I had a word processor because it wasn't. It was word processors then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right.
I got a stack of letters, Ella, a stack, and I was thinking about bringing them with me actually. From sending to publishers. And some of them are great, mine, because some of them come back and saying, we like your style, but we already have somebody that does similar work. And then you get one or two back saying, we like these, we'd like to publish them. So when that happens, that's nice. So I had, like I said earlier, I had a series of greeting cards published by Royal Publications.
You're still really young at this point, aren't you?
I was, yeah. And then I also had a series by Glovian Galleries, and I knew about Glovian Galleries from the guy I said about Martin Ridley, that from the wildlife artist, and so they were wildlife reproductions, and one was a dolphin and one was a leopard, and they were published as greeting cards. So that was a nice bit of early
experience.
To have that behind me, to get that. But
I suppose it is work experience, isn't it? You don't realise at the time, but it's really giving you the fundamentals.
Well, I look back, and I don't think I had the option, but because a lot of people would say, I think at that time in 1995 or 96, to have some published was I think per greeting card was like 175, and I designed about, I think it was 5 or 6, but I knew I had over £1,000 from the publishers.
Yeah, which was a lot of money then.
Yeah, but it would have been better if I'd had a royalty basis.
Yes.
But you don't think about that at that time.
No.
But I was just glad to get them published.
I bet. Yeah.
Get some work published. And obviously the dream, I suppose, of being a full-time artist.
Yeah.
Because that's the dream.
Yeah.
But, I as I said earlier about my friends, it's very difficult to make it as a full-time artist, especially early on like that. So I was doing everything. I would do the pet portraits. I would do whatever came my way.
Yeah.
And I realised then, because a lot of my friends were, they all had pretty good jobs. They'd left college. Some of them manager, some were studying to be a lawyer, some was engineers, managers of different places. So they were earning pretty good money.
Mm.
So my thing was, I think I need to do something else. I think I need to get some more money in.
Because that's what everybody else is doing.
Because everybody was earning pretty good money. So if I'm gonna, so I thought, what do I enjoy doing? And obviously from the boxing side, from I loved working with kids.
Yeah.
The kids, always looked up to me from the boxing gym, and they confide in me about different things. So I thought, I'd like to work with children. So I was looking for something, and I found it was working with children on a weekend on Saturday. It was like a kids club,
right? Doing
activities. So I applied, got the job. So that was a start, and I really enjoyed it. So then I decided to do from that. Then there was a bit of with the same company. We did a bit of outreach work in Cwmbran, going around talking to the youngsters, hanging around on the streets, talking to them and asking them about,
Well, so naughty kids were they, or
just
had nothing to do,
with some youngsters on the streets, And then it went from that. Then I thought, you know what, I quite enjoy doing this. I thought I'll go back to college. So I ended up going back and doing, maybe I think it was a foundation in youth work. Then I did the next step up, and then I ended up doing a HND in youth and community work. Looking back, I probably should have done social work.
Yeah.
But, if
you look at your life now, probably not actually.
I enjoyed what I did. And then whilst I ended up then doing some part-time work with the probation service and the Duke of Edinburgh's Award.
Mm.
And I always remember I went for the interview and I didn't get the job that I applied for. But what she did offer me was that would you work directly with the young offenders? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. She said, I can give you so many hours per week. So with my art, my commissions from my art side, a couple of hours a week doing this was great for me anyway.
Yeah.
And then I did a little bit more obviously, and then I seen a post for working in a school as a personal development and learning coach. Actually, the hours grew with the Duke of Edinburgh's Award and the probation service, and then that went up to about 30 hours. But then a job came up working in a school in the most deprived area in Wales, the Gurnos estate. And a job came up as a personal development and learning coach. And I thought, I really fancy that. And anyway, went for the interview. I was so nervous, Ella.
Oh,
But I think the head could see that I had something to offer with my art background, my sport background, and I got the job. And I was there for 10 years. And I loved that job. I really did enjoy that job, working with difficult children, re-engaging them back into school, children that had been, either expelled or on the verge of expulsion, and then going to visit the parents and visiting the youngster and saying, look, we got this new curriculum starting up, come back and give it a go.
Life-changing stuff, really.
So it was good, and do you know what, Ella? I've had messages from some of the youngsters on Facebook that I dealt with, and saying that, hey, thanks for being the way you were.
Aww.
So it was quite nice.
But this is what I said at the beginning. I said, oh, he's so kind, he's so humble, and you've got a good. Well, you are. You won't take that very well, but you are, and people just like you. They really do. I mean, you're a very likeable person, and I'd imagine for kids, there's a pivotal point in a lot of kids' life, and this is very, very true, especially kids that have come from neglect or abuse or whatever. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that child often only needs one adult that cares about them, believes in them, and offers them something that's beyond what they're used to, for them to have that sense of, right, maybe I have got something. And you were that person for those kids. That's essentially what you did.
It was nice because a lot of them didn't. Some of them, their fathers are in prison.
Yeah.
That was the type of child I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And very difficult outside of school. And, what was lovely was a couple of times I did it after school. The most toughest kid you could think of, from the, do you want to stay behind after school and do some art? Oh, yeah, Pat, that'd be great. They could call me Pat. I didn't mind.
Yeah.
And you could see the real child.
Yes.
At that time.
The free part of them.
You didn't see the difficult kid.
That's why
was playing up and stuff.
Yeah, because they
would normally play up.
Ego drops, I suppose.
Yes, because there was nobody else there.
Yeah.
So
that's why art is essential as part of a therapeutic process, I think, or creativity at least.
Well, what we did, me and the art, Julie, her name was, she's an artist as well. Julie Childs, shout out. Julie would set up a curriculum that what they were doing on it was called Me, Myself and I. So it was everything that they liked.
Oh.
There was a self-portrait.
Yeah.
But everything they liked. So if they liked this pop star, if they liked this sports person, and then we would create this this piece that was based on their likes, and so
nice.
It was quite good because you could pull in they liked all the rappers,
Yeah.
So we
brought them in.
I think I drew most of it, but
got carried away. but I mean
they so then to get them, they would love that,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that for about, nearly, I think I was there for 10 years.
Why do you, just as an interesting point, why do you think they loved the self-reflective work? I mean, I know as a therapist, but what did you see happen for them?
Well, it was their interests. That's what we were trying to pull. That's what we were doing.
You were trying to show them.
We were giving it. It was just because it was their interests.
They were more dedicated.
I think they were more dedicated to do it.
Yeah.
I think all the school was doing that, mind. That was just a topic. It was just a good topic to use. Me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And I was there for 10 years. Nearly. I think I started in 2000 and I was there till 2000. But what that did for me, Ella, was it paid for my mortgage. It paid for all my materials.
Yeah.
It was paying for my dream.
Yeah.
Of being a full-time artist.
Yeah.
It was there somewhere. Now, I could have easily gone down the road. I could have easily continued. Because you enjoyed it. To be honest with you, I probably would have if I wasn't made redundant. I think I would still be there. And that's, some people would say it's a trap, because obviously, the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And stay employed.
Yeah.
or I could, and that chance came from being made redundant.
Which could have been a dreadful thing.
But if I think if that didn't happen, I certainly would still be there. And because when I was at the time I was made redundant, to take a little bit step back, every weekend I would be exhibiting at an event, and when I say like a boxing event,
what do you mean? To explain that for people that don't really.
Well, it started off being amateur boxing shows.
Yeah.
I went with my passion. So it would go with the amateur boxing shows. I would contact. I knew most of them from coaching anyway.
Yeah.
So I would contact the guys and say, "Oh, can I come and show my work at your boxing show?" And I think the first one I did was 1997. So I that was the first amateur boxing show I went to. And I took my work as some. Actually, I don't think I had any prints at that time. No, I did. I would have had one, and I was selling these prints, but I took some originals as well, and it was one of the first. It was a dinner boxing show.
Yes.
So, and I think I sold one of my illustrations. So that was a good night.
Yeah.
So that was that keeps you thinking, this can work. I could do this.
Yeah.
And then it gradually so anyway, I got the job with a school, so I was there for 10 years. But during that time, I would exhibit most weekends. I was trying to exhibit.
You were working hard then.
Yeah, I was trying. And looking for the opportunities.
Yeah.
Obviously, the internet was around, so I would type into the internet an evening with.
Yes.
And what would pop up is evening with Mike Tyson, an evening with Frank Bruno, and then I would contact the promoter and say, could I come and paint live at your show? And 9 times out of 10 they would say yes, not a problem. Come and paint.
Is that a nerve-wracking thing to do? Because I mean,
probably, but I
remember.
I sort of realised that I had to do it.
Yes.
If I wanted to get anywhere.
Are there many people that do that, paint live?
Yeah, there's some really good guys.
Is there?
There's some really good ones that do it very quick.
Yes.
And they produce something off there. I'm more of a, I'm just there doing it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I prepare it.
Yeah.
Maybe 60. So I want people to come up and say, "Oh, that's looking good."
Yes.
And then I can chat with people and that's what I looked at it as a way of chatting to people and seeing my work.
Well, warming them up.
Seeing my work,
building
and
your
saying,
audience.
And sometimes I'd sell a print, or I'd have people saying, "Oh, could you do this of my kids, or could you do this?" Because then they would ask me to paint their sons who were fighting.
Yes.
That would come from it.
Yeah.
So I was doing that when I was working full time. And then obviously it grew from the amateur boxing shows. I would contact the professional promoters, Frank Warren, and say, I wouldn't speak to Frank, but it was
right, Frank.
I was, I would email or whatever, or phone up and say, is it possible I could exhibit at the show next week? 9 times out of 10, they would say yes. Not a problem. In fact, Frank Warren, I think he did have work at one point on the website a long time ago of mine, prints, of different ones, and then I would phone Frank from Eddie Hearn, from Matchroom Boxing, a different Frank Smith, who's now the CEO of Matchroom, and Frank very often would let me exhibit and show my work. So it gradually, and then also I contacted a company called Champions UK that would put events on every week with Colin McMillan, name some snooker stars.
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
No, name another one. The older one.
The older one. What, Jimmy?
Anyway,
Jimmy White.
Yeah, some of those different ones.
Yeah.
And they were putting events on every week. So I contacted that company and I said, look, would you, could I come and paint live at your show? And then we came up with a deal there where they would cover my costs to go to the show, do a piece, and we would go 50-50 on it or something. And so I was, when I was made redundant, I had...
You had a hunger.
I had something.
Yeah.
There was something there.
Yeah.
I'd already built it up.
But you did have a hunger to...
Because I wanted to succeed, yeah.
But have you heard Bob at this point? Is this where
cool. No.
So this is before the Bob Proctor thing?
Yes, it was.
So you were still really very much about hungry for it, because you've got no full-time job anymore. So you've got to do this, really.
Yeah. So at that time of being made redundant, that was a little bit of a fear there, really.
Of course.
Because I wasn't... My dad was brilliant. He said, "Give it a go, son," he said. "You got nothing to lose." Which, I understood that. He said, and if it doesn't work out, he said, "You know what you got to do?
Yeah.
Get a job."
Yeah.
So
That's
my dad
brilliant.
was great.
Yeah, that's
but my
brilliant.
mother, on the other hand, was different. She showed a mother's love, and she was like, "Why didn't you get a proper job?" She wanted me to be employed. She wanted that monthly income. I think she was just worried about her son.
Of course.
Struggling. She didn't want me to struggle with a mortgage and everything. But I told my mum off once for that, but she was very supportive then after.
You told her off.
Yeah, I said, "Look, support me in what I want to do."
Yeah.
I think she understood then as well.
Yeah.
Instead of like saying, "Get a proper job." Yeah. So, so being made redundant, and that was a bit of a scare there, because there was a job that came up working with children with cancer in Cardiff, and I really fancied that job and that was a youth worker.
Yeah.
And it would just be lifting them up.
Yeah.
That was what the job was about.
Yeah.
I didn't get a job, luckily, I say now. But it was, I got the interview but I didn't get it. But that was...
So another reason for you to chase the dream.
Yeah. And, I always say, Ella, that, the universe come right at that time, because at that very year, I was made redundant in 2009. The stars aligned for me, I think. That's what I say, because in 2009, I was building my own... I was having a studio built in my bungalow. And it was so strange that the company that I contacted about painting regularly were happy. They were interested in the boxing shows, going around to the shows, exhibiting. Everything sort of seemed to be going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I was probably earning the same amount as I was in my other job, just through painting.
Yeah.
So I thought I will give it a go.
Yeah.
And that's where it started, really. Sort of 2010 or 2009, sort of full time. But then I've spoke to you about this before. I started looking for the work.
Now you're even more. Well, I guess the world is your oyster now, because you haven't got this full-time job holding you back.
That's right, and I was looking for the opportunities.
Yeah, you started to become the hunter. Really. Yeah,
see where I could, where could I exhibit?
Yeah,
and then slowly but surely, actually, so I started doing I came up with this idea. Actually, I didn't come up with it. It was Neil Andrews come up with it of Under the Posts. Shout out to you, Andrew. And,
there's been
Neil
3
Andrews.
shout outs so far. Well, actually, there's been a lot of shout outs.
I went to a show under the Posts. It was a rugby event.
Yeah.
And he was doing an event with... Well, we'd done a couple of events where I was doing different pieces. And he said, well, why don't we make the winning bidder... Why don't we make the hooker the winning bidder? Because it was an evening with Jason Leonard.
Right.
The rugby player. He's a prop.
I know who he is, yeah.
And we were talking, and I said, well, I could do the scrum, and I was, I said I would like to do something different. So why don't we let's do the painting, and then let's get the winning bidder can be the hooker.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I said, that's bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
I said, why haven't I thought of that before? So then all of a sudden, Amongst Legends was born. Sort of, I've helped. I'd like to think I've helped out quite a lot of charities, probably over 40 events, where I would go to do this painting, and then the winning bidder in the audience, and it's got to be sold correctly.
It's such a good idea.
It's got to be sold correctly, because what you got to imagine, right? You got all these businesses in the audience, all these men, and they would like, oh my God, we got to get your face on there. Yeah,
this is phenomenal. What a great idea.
That was. It could be bigger. I think it could be bigger than what it is. Yeah. Because I think it is a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
And anyway, so we started this with Jason. We did this one, Jason Leonard, and it didn't go for a great deal. But I was commissioned by the guy that bought it to paint his son.
Yes.
And his son was a rugby guy, so I did a piece of his son. So someone else came from it.
Always led on to another job.
But that Amongst Legends time after I'd left the school was quite good, really, because Tyson was coming over to the country to do a lot of talks and a lot of events.
We mean Mike Tyson, not Tyson Fury.
Yeah, sorry, Mike Tyson. So at that time, I was doing these paintings of Tyson versus Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
It was the fantasy fight everybody wanted to see. So what I would do is I would do Tyson versus Ali, and then the winning bidder would be the referee.
That is a great idea.
And Tyson would sign it.
Amazing.
And we would auction, usually they would get
Hang on. Pause.
Okay.
Mike Tyson, the biggest, apart from Muhammad Ali, name, really, in boxing. He just casually comes on and signs one of your paintings. Well, I mean, Pat, that's big. Don't overlook that bit.
I mean, with Mike could be quite. It depended when you met him. Sometimes he was okay. Sometimes he was.
Yeah, it wasn't different. In a great place.
Yeah. So, but this couple of times was great.
How did you just approach him, or did Neil approach him?
No, it was a different event. It was a different event at the time, actually. Right. Different people.
Right.
And
so you just asked him, or they did on your behalf?
I think I might have gone up. They might have sorted that out. They might have done that at the time. Yeah.
But that in itself, it just shows how the people that you're around and how you think.
Yeah.
You've just got to ask. It doesn't matter if it's Mike Tyson or, Bill from down the road.
That's right.
That's why I wanted to pull you up on that, because people listening that have got dreams themselves, you have to write the letters. You have to go up to people and speak to them. You've got to face that fear of rejection.
Yes.
And do it anyway. And I mean, this is Mike Tyson, and you're getting him to sign your paintings.
Well, I got a funny story in a minute now.
Oh, good. I do like that.
Really, about the signing. So anyway, we did a couple of these and they went well, and I was looking for reference, because obviously I don't want it all to be the same. Tyson versus Ali, they had to be different. Yeah. Okay. So like so I'm looking for reference of Mike Tyson. I'm throwing shots. I'm looking for shots of Ali to throw in shots, and it got to work as well as they coming together. And I'm looking, and I see. It's called Celebrity Fight Night.
Oh, yes.
With Muhammad Ali. This is 2010.
Wow.
So this is just a year after I was made redundant. I couldn't believe it that I seen this. This is just searching for my reference. An evening, it's Muhammad Ali's charity. It's called Celebrity Fight Night, and they raise so much money for Parkinson's. So I email the main guy and ask if I can come over. I said what I was doing with the paintings, the Amongst Legends thing, and I asked him if I could come over and do something. Within half an hour, I get a call, and Pat, we want to fly you over. We want to fly you over to Phoenix, Arizona, and we wanted to paint live at Muhammad Ali's charity. Well, it was the dream event for me. Life. So my mum and dad actually bought me a camera, a new, like a film camera thing. So I'm talking to the guy. It's not the CEO of the company, but he was the main guy. And I said, well, okay, great. I got an event next week with Tyson. I can do this piece, and I can get it signed by Tyson, and then I can get it signed by Muhammad Ali in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh my God!
So they were like, oh, fantastic. Yeah, let's do it. Let's, and we'll auction it off. So I had an event with Tyson in Leeds, and I got to get a tool signed.
Yeah.
So I go up to Tyson, and they announced on the tannoy, don't Mike Tyson's having his dinner. Don't interfere.
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone.
You stalkers.
But I'm there right next to him, doing this piece, and I'm thinking I gotta go and ask him.
You've got to.
So I went over to Mike and I said, Mike, this piece this is for Muhammad Ali's charity. It's going to be for Celebrity Fight Night. Could you sign this for me? And he just turns around and signs.
That's it.
Yeah, no problem at all. I said, oh, thank you, Mike. I said, thanks, Mike. I said, could I have a photograph? And he looks at me. He just sort of looks at me and says, I'm eating my dinner.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, oh, sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. So I just went back to where I was and carried on. But I got it signed, so I was so chuffed.
Yeah.
So I was so pleased. And then went over to Phoenix, Arizona for the Celebrity Fight Night. And it was signed. I was painting live. And this event, mind, was just phenomenal. I'd never seen anything. They had a Bugatti bike. They had a car. They had the memorabilia was just amazing.
Yeah.
And it was a star-studded event.
Yeah.
I had pictures with Bo Derek.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was probably a lot of celebrities there that I didn't know, like American football players and stuff.
Yeah.
Who was Bo Derek married to?
I don't know who she was married to, but she was obviously in James Bond, wasn't she?
No, she was married. I'm trying to think what was his name. Anyway, he was there as well. And so that was great. So that was a big, and Muhammad Ali signs it. He wasn't very good. He wasn't very good, mind, at all.
What, as in he was ill?
But I was told his eyes lit up, seeing the piece, and he signed it. And
did you speak to him?
No, I didn't. But
still, he signed your work.
The piece, yeah. So
Pat, that's phenomenal.
And I wish, in a way, that I posted this recently actually on my Instagram. I sort of wish I still had the piece.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you're not going to get anything signed by Ali again now. Because I think 6 months later he passed away.
Oh wow.
And then or a year later. So a piece, signed by Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And the guy that bought it actually had he's on there as the referee.
Wow.
Wow. But it's a very personal piece.
Yes.
So, from there I was doing a lot of these things, where they could be the winning bidder, and that sort of died off a little bit, and then I just was doing my own thing. Just basically just commissions here, there, exhibiting at the big shows, the professional boxing shows, and then 2014, I met a girl 2012, Lenka, and she every time I went to her place, she wasn't watching TV. And I remember going home one time when I was doing some work, and I then realised a few days later that I hadn't turned the TV on, and I thought that's a good habit.
Yeah. So
I stopped turning the TV on, and because I was going in anyway. My living room was becoming a storeroom.
Yes,
so I was going straight to my studio anyway.
Yeah. So
and then I started getting into a bit more like personal development and listening to, like I said, Bob Proctor and different people. And
so this is 2012.
Yeah.
The early sort of movement of personal development being online and being accessible to us.
Yeah, and I sort of yeah, I really had a bit of a change there.
Yeah.
And thought that, I'm going to be specific where I'm going to exhibit. I'm going to be a little bit more conscious about that.
Intentional.
I think so, yeah. And and then it was, I would say 2004, no, maybe earlier than that, I started to try to look at things a little bit different. Like, if there was a big fight in London, if there was a big fight somewhere, I started showing at the hotels.
Yeah.
So I started asking if I could show the piece. So if it was fight week, I would show the piece, the main piece, at the hotel.
Amazing idea.
Yeah, and then I started. I had a good sale at Wembley, and I think it was Froch Groves.
Right.
80,000 people.
Yeah.
And Matchroom were great. They'd let me exhibit the piece at the weigh-in, and there was thousands at the weigh-in. So the print that I had done, I sold a lot of the prints.
Yes.
I can't remember what year that was. 2014, maybe.
It must be 2014. Yeah.
So I sold a lot of prints from exhibiting that. And I was driving out of I'd exhibited at the weigh-in.
Yeah.
I was driving out, and somebody come to me and said, "Well, why didn't you exhibit it at the Wembley Hilton?" And I thought, and I had done pretty good on the day, just selling prints.
Yeah.
And I was just about to turn left to drive home, and I thought, "Nah, I'll pop into the Hilton, and I'll just go and see." So I parked outside, popped in, and said, "Can I speak to the manager?" And she said, she said, "Yeah." I showed her the picture on my iPad, and she said, "Yeah, you can show the painting, no problem." So I displayed the piece in the foyer of Wembley. Now that was great because the amount of people that saw that piece, and the amount of celebrities that were around, was brilliant. And actually, I looked a bit scruffy, so I remember asking the security guy if he could look after my piece while I went and bought a nice blazer, because I didn't feel that I looked.
These are the details.
Yeah.
These are the details that some people wouldn't think about. But I have to interject here because you said earlier about the Bob Proctor thing and then being more conscious and more intentional.
Image, yeah.
You were starting to put all these pieces together. I can't just know that I'm a good artist and wait for someone to come and find me. I've got to, work full time, go to all these amateur boxing clubs, do all this stuff. I've then got to get involved in this project here and put all my heart and soul into it, chase the dream. Now I've got to be more intentional with it. It's not just about where I am, it's about what I wear. It's about, having the balls really to go up and ask people, can you sign my work? All of this stuff is what makes the difference between success and not success. So I just wanted to say that.
I think so, and I'm glad you brought it up because I knew that as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I looked a bit scruffy.
Yeah.
So I just went around the corner and bought a nice blazer so I'd look more presentable.
Love it.
Because I was in a nice hotel.
Yeah.
And there's a story for that painting before I exhibited it, because it was signed by both of them.
Yes.
It was signed by Froch. It was signed by George Groves. It was signed by Eddie Earn. It was signed by the two trainers.
That's insane.
And I sort of knew that I could sell it for a nice sum.
Yeah.
Because it was the rematch, and it was a big rematch.
It was a big one, yeah, I remember.
And it was just nice the fact that I could exhibit it at the London Hilton. And I sold it. I sold it on that weekend.
Who did you sell it to? Was it someone?
It was a guy. He was just impressed with the piece, and it did lead on to more sales.
Yeah.
But You know, that, and so that was a, outside the box moment, really.
Yeah.
And thinking to myself, okay, that was different, because obviously
You could have turned left.
I could have turned left. That's what I was saying about. That's why I said that. And it's sort of a pivotal moment for me, because I realised that you don't have to sell in a gallery.
Yes, because galleries do take a big, hefty chunk, don't they, of money?
They do. 50%,
50%,
could be 60%.
Yeah, 50% at least.
So I realised that, that's a good way of showing my piece. So I did that quite a bit for the next. Well, I still do it now. But I mean, that was a good moment for me.
Yeah.
Because I realised something.
Yes.
I thought, that's different.
Yeah.
Just to show the piece at a big hotel during fight week and during fight night.
You're starting to see a much bigger picture now, aren't you?
Yeah, seeing a bigger picture.
Yeah.
With it. And then the next, I did that a couple of times, beat various fights. Sometimes success, sometimes no success, sometimes nothing. But I never looked at it as no success.
Yes.
The fact that I'd gone and nice images, contacts, networking.
Which is sometimes worth more than selling the piece.
It was all worth it.
Yeah.
And then the next one I would say I went out to was when Tyson Fury fought Klitschko, which was a big fight in Germany.
Yeah. And
I ended up going over with a piece. And they both signed the piece. And even Michael Buffer signed the piece.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But I ended up going to the VIP there with some friends for that. So I didn't paint live or nothing.
Right.
And I didn't actually exhibit it because one guy that I went with ended up buying the piece.
Oh, no way.
He liked it that much. So
so you just had fun?
Yeah, so it was more of it was partly fun, but partly,
networking
and exhibiting the piece as well. And then, like I said earlier about the Canelo Khan piece, that was another turning point. And listening to Bob Proctor and other people saying that, you can be where you want, go where you want.
It's true, though. I mean, you're living an example.
And I'm listening to this, and I thought, I've already said this. So I contacted Amir Khan's people, and he didn't have a problem. And I remember when Amir Khan came out, and he came straight over to me and signed the piece. And but I didn't have Canelo to sign the piece at that time. And it actually, a guy was there that I borrowed somebody's pen, and John and another shout out. John was I met John through that's another networking thing, because some of his family had bought a piece actually, but so I mean it is, when I look back and things like that, it's very interesting for me and seeing how things have turned out.
You spoke about, just to go back a bit, before we go forward. One of my favourites of yours is the Mike Tyson on his own. The thing that stands out, and when your trailer is done for this episode, we'll layer in some of your paintings into the trailer. So as you're talking, the people that you're talking about will be laid in, and is the colours that you use, and they're very bright, vibrant pieces, but they really do look like the person. I mean, you see some painters and they can never capture.
I sort of changed a little bit since, but I still.
But it's still vibrant. They're still vibrant. Maybe that's because of the people that you're painting and the colours that they're wearing, but they're still vibrant pieces. But I love that one. And then, of course, you did get your photo with Mike Tyson, didn't you? That's on your Instagram.
That was 2020.
So that's a bit. That was 2020, was it?
Yeah.
And he signed that piece, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, him with Customato.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah. So well, I wanted to mention that because earlier on he was having his dinner and he was having none of it.
Yes, that was a different event.
It was a different event, and that was many years before, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was quite a few years before, because then I met Mike again at another event, and he was so nice. He actually, after doing some signing, he come around and he starts looking at my pieces, and I said, "I've got something for you, Mike," and I had a bunch of posters for him, and I showed him, and he said, "Yeah," he said, "I love them." And then I said, "Oh, could you sign some pieces for me, Mike?" And he signed about 3. Yeah, so that was a nice moment, because he actually took the time to come up and looked at the pieces, you know, that I
What's
done.
that like for you as a boxing fan and as an artist, to be with one of the world's ever greatest, and to have him looking at your work and signing your work? I mean, I suppose you've become a bit numb to it, because it's happened a lot with quite a few big names now.
It's nice though.
Yeah,
it is a nice. It's nice. It's a nice feeling. The 2020 one was good.
Yeah, you will come to that, I'm
yeah,
sure, because we're still with the we're at the point where you are, you know, Amir Khan, Canelo, all these big names, and you're really, really starting to carve out a space for yourself. I think you're getting to be, because I know in recent years people kind of, I think you're part of the furniture with a lot of it, especially the UFC stuff as well. Like, you've become part of the I feel like that anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like people just know who you are now.
Well, that's nice to you. I mean, you know, I think, yes, when I hear that from people,
Yeah,
I never think of it that way.
you're part of that scene. Like, for me,
It's quite nice to
Yeah.
hear it from different people. That, you know, if you're not there,
yeah,
it's not the same.
yeah.
It's nice if I hear
Well, you
that.
are part of that really elite gang
Yeah.
in the fight world. You know, the world that you got nostalgic about earlier and had a little, you know, a little
Well, that was my
emotion.
old trainers, so yeah.
Yeah, but it all led on to this.
Yeah.
This is why I think you do get that little bit of emotion, because there you are, you know, helping them build their, you know, their not a studio, their gym, and really being a part of that infancy of what they're doing, and then later on, you're now part of the furniture in that elite fight world. Really, you're known.
Maybe I feel imposter syndrome.
I knew that was going to come up. It must do, because you are that humble boy from Wales, just a humble boy from a small village, and there you are hanging out with like the top people, whether it's in the business of boxing and UFC, or whether it's the fighters themselves buying your work and signing your work. I mean, and you know, you're making a full-time good living out of this.
Yeah, the last few years have been, you know, especially, you know, 2020, I'll talk about 2020, because obviously it was the year of the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
So I went over to Vegas, and it was actually Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. And it was the second fight. So I was exhibiting my piece. But at the time, the gallery in Las Vegas had closed down, the one that I had started showing my work. But there was, just around the corner from that was another store called The Art of Music, and they were a memorabilia store, and they were good. They were good with me as well, and I took an opportunity whilst I was exhibiting the piece, or they were exhibiting the piece for me in the shop, and I found out that weekend of the fight that Mike Tyson was going to be doing a live signing session during that weekend. So I asked the shop, I said, look, can I do a live painting of Mike? And in fairness to Fitterman, of Fitterman Sports, he said to me, he said, look, Pat, he said, why don't you do Tyson with Customato, the trainer, in the background, looking at Mike, and it's his first fight. And I thought, yeah, that'd be nice. So that was on I think it was Wednesday. And I know where all the Arch stores are in Vegas, because I've been out there so many times now. Yeah. I know where everything is. So he said, you know, it'd be great, you know, do a live piece. I said, it'd be fantastic. I said, I'll do a live piece, sure. They'll be queuing around there. They can all see me doing a piece as they're coming in. Off I go on a Wednesday, grab a canvas. I'm painting in my pantseller, in my
not in the shop,
in my hotel room. You know,
I was going to say, because if you're in the shop in your pants.
Danny Lupa, I remember Daniel mentioned
painting
about his
his
pants.
What is it with you artists?
Well,
What's in your
you know,
pants?
just scruffy. Just what people don't see, you know. I'm just preparing this piece in my room.
You should do it together.
And yeah, I prepare the piece, get it sort of 60%, so you can see what it is.
Yeah.
And then I'm painting it live on the Friday, Saturday, and Friday and Saturday, I think. And Mike comes over and goes, "Man, that's awesome. That's my first fight. Wow, that's awesome." I said, "Mike, I'm painting it." He said, "Well, man, it's awesome," and it gives me a fist bump. So that was nice, and then I put a nice quote on it as well, which was Custom Arto's quote, and then Tyson signs it as well. So that was a nice piece, and I ended up flying home on the 26th of February, and I sold both pieces.
Oh my gosh!
And then, it was, and then next month lockdown.
Yeah, shut everything down.
So, and I very nearly flew to New York for Mick Conlan's fight on St. Patrick's Day, and it would have been March the 16th.
Yeah.
And my sister comes up my house, and I say, I'm off to New York now. She said, "What are you on about?" She said, "You're stupid." She said, "It's lockdown. It's going to be a lockdown." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because Top Rank hadn't cancelled the show.
Right.
All the guys were out there.
Yeah.
So it hadn't closed down initially."
Yet.
But my sister was working for the NHS, so she probably knew
She
anyway.
knew, yeah.
So then it's like, I didn't go. It was.
What would have happened? You wouldn't have been able to get back.
Well, that's the thing. And I think the next day, they cancelled the show. The next day, the day before, either the day I was going to fly out, or the next day. So I was a lucky one, because I could have been stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it wasn't for my sister, maybe I might be still in New York. I might have been stuck out there.
Mind you, it's not a bad place to
No,
live.
I know.
Expensive, but
yeah, that would have been the thing.
Yeah.
Would the insurance have covered it?
yes. No, we probably wouldn't have, because there was insurance.
I
Can't,
probably would have got back somehow. I don't know.
you probably would have hitchhiked.
I would have figured it out somehow. I got some friends out there. Maybe I could have just.
You would have. You probably would have had a whale of a time in your little bubble with your friends.
Yeah.
But instead, you came. Well, you didn't come home. You were already at home.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's when we started to talk.
Really?
I think it was. Well,
It wasn't before that.
I think we might have connected before that because of Chantal Cameron.
Really?
Because so Chantal, I was doing Chantal Cameron, obviously world champion boxer now, but we were running at the time, and you sent me some stuff. Do you remember this? You can't remember? Oh, I'll tell you what you did then, Pat.
Oh no, I could now, because you said before.
Yeah. So we were doing these. They were boxing events really, where we would invite people to come to the boxing club Far Cotton in Northampton and just spar with her and do these sparring days, and we put raffles on, and then we were involved in a guy called Dean McGuinness who does an evening with nights in Northampton. Carl Froch and Groves are always there actually, but various different people, and we started to do basically raffles and things like that, all boxing memorabilia, to raise money for a local refuge called Eve, who are not government funded, and they are domestic abuse support and charity. And Chantal was with McGuigan's at the time, and we were doing that together, and you sent over loads of prints of.
Did I?
Yeah, and so we would raffle these things off.
That's cool.
Because you saw that was way before the lockdown. We'd never spoken at that point. You just messaged and said, "Oh, I see what you're doing. Do you want some stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, please." And that's how we first came across each other.
Right.
So you must have seen what Chantal was doing and then seen me off the back of it.
I met Chantal recently, actually.
At the Katie Taylor?
No, out in it was out in Florida.
Right.
She was out there for the I think it was the Jake Paul fight.
Right.
Yeah. Because I had just exhibited the WBA 100 Years historical piece, and she was out there, and I wanted her to see it.
Yeah. Well, she's a Northampton girl.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. She's local. So then we started to talk because during the pandemic, everyone started doing more lives, didn't they?
Right, yeah.
So we did a couple of lives together. I think you were painting the Tyson.
We did a few.
We did. And it was good. It was good because it was something different to do at the time. And I think I did my first ever Instagram live with you.
Right. And that would have been mine probably as well.
Yeah, probably. And you were doing the Tyson Fury painting at the time.
Right.
Or around that time, yeah.
And what year was that?
I don't know, but it was on one of your lives that you were painting him.
Yeah.
So that was how a different way to connect with people. I mean, I know it was terrible what happened, and we all sort of look back and go, I can't believe we stayed in for that long. but actually at that time, I think everyone started to behave slightly differently. If you had a business,
do some different stuff.
You had to put yourself out there in a different way.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Well, I don't know how much of this is luck, Pat, because you've just always put yourself in the uncomfortable situations.
True.
To see what can come of it. And it was a time where we had to do those things.
No, but I meant lucky in,
it didn't affect you.
The 2020, I during the pandemic, I was very lucky in that the framer stayed open, my post office stayed open, and my printer stayed open. So I was out every day.
Yeah, you could do your work
I could
still.
do my thing. I could still carry on doing it.
Yeah.
It's not the same, you miss going to a coffee shop.
Oh, God, yeah.
And
when you look back, and we said this earlier, didn't we, about how a lot of politicians were behaving and a lot of the misinformation that was put out there, and things that we now know didn't work at the time that they were trying. I mean, I know it was some people would say, well, nobody knew what was going on and we all just had to do what we were told. But sometimes when people talk about the pandemic, I forget how ridiculous life was, just having to drive 5 miles down the road to go for a walk and feel like, what if I get caught?
I know.
You're crazy. And you're allowed out once a day to go for a walk.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So it's just a totally different time. And you were really just taking off at that time. This is you really doing the bigger stuff.
Mm.
And I say taking off, but like I say, now I feel like you're part of the furniture. You were really starting to weave that into your life. So there's a certain amount of time where you had to take a break from being present at those events. So after the pandemic, how did that, for you? Because I've seen you be interviewed on the stage now and did you get given some sort of award or some sort of...
I had 2020, then 22, Canelo versus Bivol was a big one because... I went out and exhibited a piece that I had done, and then the team ended up buying the piece, which was fantastic. And I think that might have, they took it live on stage and signed the piece, and then I think a couple of things opened up. I think the WBO commissioned me then. To be at their convention,
right?
Because they saw. See, I still was doing this exhibiting at the hotels. New York has been very good. When there was a fight at Madison Square Garden, I went over, and the Stewart Hotel, and Andrew from the Stewart Hotel at the time was great. I asked him if I could show my pieces, because it was literally. You could walk across the road, and the Stewart Hotel was the fight hotel
for
the Top Rank.
Right.
So I would set up an exhibition in the foyer, and I would paint live.
Mm.
And I think it was from the Katie Taylor one and Amanda Serrano that Paco and Gustavo had seen my piece and they liked it, and they said they'd be in touch. So that was great, because that year then they use it on the cover of the convention program. They use it as a massive banner, and then they commissioned me as well to do a piece of Alexander Usyk, which was presented to him at the convention in Puerto Rico.
It's crazy, Pat.
Yeah, so that was nice, because to get like the WBO, the sanctioning bodies, the organisations to be interested in my work and to commission me was the next step, really.
Yeah.
It was a nice moment, you know.
But this
So then-
doesn't happen to just anybody.
Well, it's like we've discussed. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's what I don't
being
want to
there,
dismiss today.
Yeah.
You know, the
Getting
amount of
out there.
intention that you put into it.
Yeah.
But going back to that thing, because I think people are listening to this, maybe, you know, are interested in art or boxing or just in life stories. And one thing I want to say is really important is nothing comes to you if you want it. You have to go out and get it. And you are living proof. I've just got to say this because of where you're at now with the WBO. I can't believe this little lad from Wales, this little village, loves a bit of boxing, loves a bit of drawing, you know, loves his pens and his pencils. His dad builds him this table, you know, believes in you. Your mum and dad eventually, especially your mum, she comes around to believing in the process, trusting you. And there you are. Really, as a full-time artist is one thing, but a full-time artist in the sport that you're most passionate about, your two loves coming together, traveling the world, Australia, Peru, Las Vegas, New York, these amazing experiences. Puerto Rico. Sorry, not Peru. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm glad you corrected me. And then having these phenomenal experiences with these people that are so important in that world. And you just have to, again, remaining so kind and humble, didn't go left, went right instead. All those little bits of the story, it just goes, because I know a lot of people struggle with the idea of making money. They struggle with the idea of what's my purpose, what's my dream. And it comes back down to, you know, that question where people say, if you won the lottery and you could pick anything that you wanted to do for the rest of your life, what would you pick? You're kind of doing that. You're doing the two loves.
That's
but you've made it happen.
Yes.
And that's the Bob Proctor thing. You can be anything and do anything.
It's a lovely thing, to be honest, to think that, you know, I set out and I'm doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I love doing it. And like you said, if I was talking to my friend the other day, I'd be doing this anyway.
Yeah.
You know, if I was given $1 million, or if I was, you know, said you've got so many days left to live, what are you going to do?
This is what
I'm
you
still
do.
going to be doing it.
Yeah. You were doing it from as early as 4.
Yeah. So it's a lovely, and I'm so glad that I could have very easily, as I said earlier, I could have very easily took the route of the youth worker profession,
Yes.
right? Because I felt that I was good at that.
Yeah.
I felt I had a good rapport with kids. I still have, you know. I think I could have very easily made a career of that.
Yeah.
But
you followed the dream.
I followed the dream.
Because of the redundancy.
Because of that. Because if I think that's the trap.
Yeah.
I think if I wasn't made redundant, without a doubt, I would still be there.
Yeah.
I think I would, because
it's the sliding doors.
It was a job that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very difficult to give up a monthly income.
Very.
You know, when it's just there.
Yeah.
You know, every month.
Yeah. You know, your mortgage is paid.
You know,
you've got food in your belly.
That was the. I think that was the difficult. When I say difficult, you know, you've got to make the money to pay the mortgage. You've got to pay the bills. And that was the initial. We've messaged about this before. We've talked about it, where I've got to make this much per month.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to pay my mortgage, to pay my bills. I got to make at least this much.
Yeah, it's the number.
Yeah.
You're ruled by the number, aren't you?
That's a bad thing in a way. I think we spoke about it before, because you're sort of logged into that number.
You're logged and limited. You're so limited. And money's a funny thing to talk about. People think it's crude to talk about. But again, I see this a lot in my work, where people are really struggling for money. And again, they're like, I hate my job. I don't want to do it anymore. And they'll tell me that they don't want to be there. And I'll say, right, what would you do if you really, you know, if you step out? I told you earlier, I went and did this really expensive business coaching course, because 1, I want to excel what I do, but 2, I want to be able to help other people make money. With a lot of the work I do is around trauma, but if I can help people break those trauma cycles and I can help them make money, for me, those 2 things can really change lives forever. So I know money isn't the key to happiness. That's why the work that I do is so important as well. But I'd listen to people and I'd say, you've got such limiting beliefs around work and money. And I'm not saying it's easy. There's no easy route here. But do you want difficult living the dream or difficult feeling trapped in this life that you've got? And it was one of the fundamental reasons that I asked you to come on. A lot of people ask me to come on this podcast, but I ask a handful of people to come on. And the reason that I asked you is, one, that I really like you and I always say you're one of my favourite people. But two, I think that what you've done is remarkable and it's living proof.
Thank you.
It is remarkable. I mean, you know, it's the story for me is so important because I use storytelling a lot in my work, and I'll use people that I know and I say, look, and this podcast will be that one. Listen to the podcast with Patrick Killian, because you'll realise that it might seem simple as you listen to it, but if you listen to the steps and the intention and everything else, you'll learn something.
And I think it was important for me. There's a quote from, I think it's Jim Rohn, and he says, work part-time, work full-time on your job and work part-time on your fortune.
Yeah.
And I did that.
You did.
So I'm not saying it's a fortune, but I worked full-time on my job.
Yeah.
And I worked part-time building my...
It's the
what
very
I
good
wanted
quote.
to do. I built it up.
Which
slowly.
means a lot of time is given. And I know this. I work really long hours. The podcast is on the side. You know, everything, releasing an app or releasing a book or, you know, the training school that I'll set up this year. All of that is on the side. So you might work 100 hours a week, right? You might work more than that. But it's that principle of work full-time on the job and part-time on the job. I am kind of living the dream as well, but my problem is time, because I'm always locked in with the time. And you have to look at the short-term loss of time for the long-term gain of the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
It really is about that.
I'm not very good on time.
What do you mean? Like you don't like to give too much up?
I sometimes think that I'm not doing enough.
Ah, right. But then you
And
can do
then-
too much.
Yeah.
Where's the happy
Yeah.
medium?
Yeah.
And you are doing. I mean, okay. There's a privileged lifestyle here because you're literally living the dream, your dream. But there's still a lot that you've had to sacrifice to have that.
When I say that because I'm like, I think when I'm in a coffee shop,
Yeah.
and I think I should be on painting.
Yeah.
But then I realise that I'm actually researching. I'm doing research.
Yeah.
And I just gotta go with the flow with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I think the push and pull, you know.
Yes, the push and pull.
And just coming from Vegas, you know, and I gotta let my body regulate back to normal. But as I'm getting older,
Takes longer.
I know a friend like who's 26, and he said I'm fine. Like after like a week, and
I'm not.
I'm still not quite right.
When you
after
go to
2
America,
weeks.
you feel a bit fluey afterwards.
Well, I only feel a bit strange from Vegas.
Yeah. Not New York.
Nah.
See, I do even from
Yeah.
New York. Yeah.
Even in Australia, I felt fine.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
I was told about the different time zones.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's the cup of coffee you wanted, you see.
Going through 8 different time zones.
Yeah.
I read, I think, that the more time zones you go through, the worse the jet lag could be. So
Right.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my body just doesn't feel right.
Do you feel really tired for weeks?
Mm.
Can be weeks.
Well, yeah, it just doesn't feel. I feel fine now. I feel okay, but the sleep pattern is not.
Yes.
Still not quite right.
Yeah.
I'm still awake at but then, you know, I stay awake a while anyway, working early hours in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Night owl.
yeah, definitely. But then when you go to Vegas, it's flipped the other way around. Bed early, up early.
Yeah. Yeah, so your body clock's all over the place. But I suppose that's the curse of living your dream. Yeah.
Exactly.
Going to Las Vegas is, you know it so well now, you know where everything is. But for you as well, I mean, I've seen you be invited on stage and all this stuff.
You did mention that, sorry.
Yeah.
So that was quite a recent, So I was commissioned by Gilberto Mendoza of the WBA to create a special piece. It was 100 years of the WBA.
I've seen it. It's brilliant.
Thanks. And it was a lot of work. But
Yeah.
and I was awarded at the event for my my contribution to boxing art. So that was like a big thing for me, because it's been like 30-odd year journey that I'm producing the pieces.
Yeah.
And then I get this award, which was a surprise at the time.
I know
as
it
well.
was.
Such a surprise.
I had a little bit of a teary eye seeing that on your
That's
Instagram.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a nice moment for me.
Yeah.
Actually, to get
be
that little bit
celebrated.
of recognition, like, you know.
That's what I mean. You're really in the, the tapestry of that world
But I
now.
never see it. I never see it like that.
Well, how do you see it then, out of
just-
interest?
Well, just this, like you said, this little young lad
Yeah.
from Wales
Yeah.
producing paintings of the stars, you know. But I never, because when I travel and I sometimes get somebody coming up and saying, "Oh, Killian, I follow you on Instagram," and it's like, it's nice,
Yeah.
but I never, because I maybe, just not.
You're very humble. You're
Yeah,
very
I-
grounded.
Uh,
There's no inflated ego where you're concerned. I've never seen that side to you ever. I think that's why people really like you, because you're just a
Thanks.
really nice, I know it's basic, but a really nice person.
well, I tried to, my dad would have knocked me down.
Yeah.
You know, if I had was above myself in any way, I think you would have knocked me down a peg or two anyway.
I want to ask you a question here, and it might make you cry.
So
It's already happened, so we're going to go there again.
I shouldn't drink anymore. Yeah, we'll go to the toilet.
We'll wrap it up soon. Don't worry. I
No,
won't
it's
make you.
okay.
I won't make you have an accident. If your dad was around now and could see, that award being given, your contribution to the boxing world and all this sort of stuff, what would he say now? Because he really encouraged you.
No, it'd be nice for him to see that.
Yeah.
I think, it would have been nice. But
It never got to happen.
yeah, he's gone.
When did he go?
2011.
So he never really got to see the big moves.
Well, he didn't. He didn't see that, and that would have been nice to, just to show him, that, and I know he would have been very proud.
Oh, he would have been.
Yeah, I know.
Was he a fan of boxing himself?
Yeah, he was. It was. I remember watching it with my dad, like as a kid. I remember watching the fights of my father, and I guess that's what got me involved in the first place. Just watching it with my dad. He didn't want me to box.
No.
No way, because I was a mammy's boy.
Yeah.
I was a. There was no reason for my dad to think that I would be any good, because I was such a mammy's boy, and I think he didn't want me to do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had my first fight that then it's quite funny really thinking of it, because he came over with me, so I'm proud of you, son. I'm proud of you.
Aww.
After my first one, he definitely didn't want me to do it.
But then if he could have seen you rubbing shoulders with the elite in that world and being awarded for it and recognised for it, I'm sure that would have been massive for him.
Yeah, that would have, because he loved Duran as well. He loved the different fighters, and I presented Duran at the Atlantic City Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
And he would have, and I would have loved. And unfortunately, see, my dad was dying of pulmonary fibrosis.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I was commissioned by the Fighting Irishmen. That was in 2006. He couldn't come to that because I think he could have, but I think he knew in himself that he couldn't walk. He couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That thing, so I think he was a bit worried.
Yeah.
He wanted to go probably, but he didn't feel that he was good enough to do it.
What a shame.
Because you with that disease, you can't.
It slows you down.
Yourself.
Yeah, you
can't
can't.
exert yourself. I mean, he was going to the toilet and he was struggling to get to the toilet.
Yeah. So he knew what he was.
Yeah, and
capable
that was one good thing that I'm very happy about. That I knew he was dying.
Yeah.
I had time to
prepare. Well, I've just been through this with my friend.
Exactly.
You know it's coming.
And I think if I if I didn't know, I think I would have dealt with it a bit differently.
I think you're right there. I think I might have done as well, although it's not a family member. It was a friend, a very good friend, one of my longest friends. Just knowing gives you time. And also, I don't know about you, but I got the opportunity to speak to Susie. And she was, for the first few weeks that I knew, she was able to, we spoke a good few times actually about, life. And she was grateful because she'd lived 30 lives in one. That's how she put it.
I didn't really talk to him enough, probably. I remember bubbling a bit.
Yeah.
Getting upset.
Oh, I bet. Were you bound to?
But, it was just, I tell you, it was nice to just be in there, because you never, when you think about it, especially as a man,
you
never get to hold your dad's hand.
No, they're so
that sort of things.
Special
things like
moments. They are special moments.
Yeah, stroking his leg.
Yeah,
holding his hand.
Yeah, you become so. I had that with Susie. You become really close physically, don't you? In those last days, it's a really beautiful thing actually to have that. And from what you've said to me, he was a really gorgeous man.
Good guy.
Yeah. This is where it goes a bit emotional. But I know you've said that before. And he obviously instilled that in you as well. So you're carrying him with you all the time, aren't you?
Definitely.
Yeah. And you are definitely you are one of the good guys. I think you, in a previous life, if there is such a thing, you must have been a really good person.
I think that as soon as we die, because when you think about it, when you die, somebody born straight away.
Yeah, it's true.
So maybe just come back.
Yeah, I think so. I think you were a really good person the last time. And I think you've come back as a really good person this time. You've been rewarded for whatever you did in the last lifetime. You have. I mean, I'm sure there's a million other stories that you've got. But, I wanted to really share that big part of the journey because I really wanted to get across how unique you are, really. I've as you know, I've had Daniel on and Carly on, Daniel Hooper and Carly Ashdown, and those two have got really interesting stories. But I knew I had to have the trio because this is another really good story. Because when people choose to live life outside the box and, expressing themselves through something that they're passionate about and they love, living a life where they're earning money to do that, it's really inspirational. Yeah,
it's the last, couple of years, like I said, just come back from Vegas.
Yeah.
And Teofimo Lopez fighting. And that was, he wanted me to do a special piece of from the Scarface thing.
Explain that for the others.
Yeah, with the balloon going past, the world is yours. And I've already done various pieces, and he wanted me to exhibit all the collection that he's had of me, and so that was so nice to be,
invited,
go to Mandalay Bay,
and
to exhibit there,
because he asked you to go.
I'd already been there 2017. I've already exhibited in 2017 in Mandalay Bay, but this time was different because the fighter wanted me to, during fight week, wanted me to do different things.
Yeah.
And then, because he bought the last piece from Taylor versus Josh Taylor, who's also bought piece. Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. And it was, I captured the pair of them, and I was painting this live. And it was the MSG, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So it was on the painting,
Yeah.
And he'd asked me prior to the fight how much I wanted for it, and I said, and then after the fight, it was so nice to get a message off Teo saying, "Killian, are you still in New York?" And then he came over to see me, and we done a deal on the piece.
Wow.
So yeah, so then the fight, the last fight in Mandalay Bay, I was there painting live, and he ends up buying the two pieces. So he's got a big collection, and it is so nice to have the guys and the teams wanting to buy the pieces, the different pieces.
That's
such
what I mean.
A nice moment for me, because that is the dream.
That is the dream. You're in the tapestry.
And I look at it, you could look at it as well as cause I wanted to turn pro at one point. And if you turn pro, if you haven't got a Olympic or Commonwealth thing behind you as an amateur, then, you know, you're really going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you start off from the bottom. You might get a couple of hundred to begin with, then 1,000 probably. And I look at my career as a fight.
Yeah.
You know, where you start off at, 16 years old, selling a painting at £50.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly but gradually build up, and sell them for more.
A lot
and
more.
Hopefully, hopefully I got another 50 years.
You will definitely have another 50 years.
That's another thing as well. I mean, doing what I do, I love to think about, I just hope that I'm fit enough and in like 20 odd years time to be a 70-year-old man
still doing
out in Vegas showing a piece off.
Yeah.
Or doing a painting live somewhere.
Well, you'll be
just as long as these are okay. And
have you got your hands insured?
No, I haven't. That would cost a lot of money, I'm sure.
I bet it would. But might be bloody worth it. Just in case. Do you remember?
Well, my mum has a bit of arthritis, but she's pretty good.
Well, also you can look after that. You can be preventative with it.
Well, I shouldn't hit bags, should I? But I probably shouldn't hit the punch bags.
No, I don't think that was.
But then maybe it's. Actually, I just go and have obviously the hip replacement, and I'm told I had osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking in my mind that it's all around my body. But I had an X-ray on the hand for something. It wasn't anything to do with. And he comes back and he goes, "Oh, just one good thing." He said, "Your bones are very strong."
Good.
I said, "Oh, it's good to hear." Because I said, "That's good to hear." Because I'm totally a bloody.
Can you exercise them?
Yeah. I mean,
you can do there's little squidgy balls you can play with. Yeah. Don't take that the wrong way.
But I'm always exercising. When you think about it, like with a.
Yeah, you're always in the boxing still, aren't you? Yeah, but I would imagine that's.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that good for your hands?
Probably not. So I don't hit it as hard as I used to.
No.
Just tip tap.
Slap it instead. But no, I mean, you should. There was a guy. Do you remember the band Level 42?
Yeah.
He had his hands insured, and I think he had to insure him for $1 million or something.
Exactly.
I mean, but it's worth it. It's worth it if ever you, and then you could still go to Vegas and still be. Yeah. Maybe you could paint with your mouth and your feet. People do it.
Yeah, I think. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, perhaps we said about being intentional. We don't want to manifest that, do we? But what would you say is the next big thing then? Because like you said, you are literally living the dream.
Well, there's a couple of, there's some big fights coming up. I'm actually doing a piece. I'm doing the Usyk Fury, but I don't know if I'll go yet.
Why not?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd like to get some official thing to do it. But I'm doing that piece anyway. But I think the next, I'm probably going to go to Australia. There's a Lomachenko versus Kambosos. They were great with me out there last time in the VIP, so probably I'd like to do that. There's a schedule. I've got like a schedule of pieces that I'd like to do, and obviously the next big one for me really would probably be Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Yeah, which will be that's in New York, in Brooklyn. So I'm looking at that. I'm sort of in the process of coming up with an idea and stuff,
Yeah. So you're always thinking ahead.
Yeah, I got
always.
I gotta like.
You can't just.
And then we've got Josh Taylor and Catterall. We got
that's
the rematch.
Soon, isn't it?
Yeah, we got the rematch of that. So I'd love to do a piece of that because, I definitely like to do that because it was a great fight, and the last piece I did sold. So I definitely.
So you're always looking for those dead certs, I guess.
The big fights.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But we said earlier, actually, just as a side note, I know this is all the good stuff, but going back to those times working with kids and being the artist but being the success, having your feet in both worlds that you love, boxing and painting, actually in terms of at some point in your life maybe doing some sort of coaching with up and coming artists or even people that feel a bit lost and want some inspiration, I think you'd be great for that.
Well, yeah, and having like the I would like to do something. I'm often like messaged and asked for a bit of advice and stuff, you know, and I like giving, you know, if I can help somebody, I do like to pass some knowledge along.
Yeah.
Try to influence and try to inspire somebody. I do like doing that.
Yeah. Well, people trust you immediately, I think, because you are a very grounded individual. But I think your natural skill of being able to make somebody just feel safe enough to express themselves, and then the art side of it and the success side of it, you know, you can really, like I said, you're an inspirational person from that point of view.
You.
And I think there's so many opportunities for you to carry on growing in your own area, but also maybe inspiring kids or even just adults that just feel a bit lost to follow a dream.
Follow a dream. I think sometimes we take it for granted, or I take it for granted of where I've taken
Definitely
it.
You do.
Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes people might ask the simplest of things.
Yeah.
And whereas you think it's not a, you know, and you think, well, I didn't think that people would struggle with that.
Yeah.
And they do. Whether it's getting your work made as prints. Some people would struggle with, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I think it's...
Is that struggling or is that lazy?
Well...
Because you can just research it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, where you could just say, you know...
Google it,
how
mate.
do I...
Yeah.
But then sometimes people...
Maybe they want to talk to you though, Pat. Do you know what? That's the thing. Because you said that earlier, actually. And I know... I guess we can all get a bit frustrated when we've had to do it the hard way, and then someone comes to us hoping that people ask me for stuff all the time as well, the same sort of scenario. I'm like, the reason I'm successful is because I did it the hard way.
Yeah.
There's no shortcuts. No shortcuts in this world. You have got to graft. Because if you try and take the shortcuts, you're not going to have the resilience for when it gets tough.
I agree with that.
These easy steps that you could just do yourself without asking, if you can't do that on your own, when it really gets tough, like you said earlier, actually, you said something about you go and do these exhibitions and sometimes you wouldn't sell anything, but you never saw it as it wasn't successful.
No.
Because your brain knew the bigger picture, the networking, the relation, because relationships are everything in business.
That's right.
Always has been, always will be. Without that, you're screwed. So to do all of that footwork and put that time in and take those risks, see the redundancies and opportunity rather than the end of something, you know, all that mind work that you've done. But I do think also in your case, and possibly mine, people go, I really like what you're doing. I just want to talk to you. So it could be that they're using that as an opportunity to get friendly.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But you can see that.
You can see
usually.
that, yeah. But there are some people that just are a bit lazy. And I don't mean to offend anyone when I say that. I'm sure people have come across it loads of times.
Yeah.
Do the work. Do the work.
And it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
To really... to get anywhere.
Yeah,
with
it is.
You know.
And that's, again, we mustn't dismiss that and minimise that. But again, that adds to the inspiration because you've done the work. And I know you feel like a bit of an imposter sometimes, but that's just your personality.
You think?
Yeah, I just think you're really humble.
Okay.
I think you are the definition of humble.
Can I give the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame a shout?
Do another shout out.
Because Ray McLean that created the Atlantic City Hall of Fame is kicking off September the 27th, the 29th. It's a brilliant weekend.
Yeah.
I'm the official artist.
Of course.
But the beautiful thing for me, Ella, of this event is that I present the fighters with their induction paintings.
Wow.
So we have Buster Douglas going in this year that beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
We have Sergio Martinez going in. We have some big. We got Jerry Cooney going in, big heavyweight. So we've got some big names going in, and it's going to be a fantastic event in Atlantic City in the Hard Rock Hotel in Atlantic City. It's a fantastic event, and
September.
Yeah, September.
What's the official
27th?
That sounds like a really good event.
It's really good,
especially if you're a
growing,
boxing fan.
Because it's only it's the 8th annual year this year.
Yeah,
and I think every year that we try to do something bigger and better every time, and it's getting bigger and better every time.
It will grow.
It seems to be filling up bigger every year.
Do you have to buy a ticket for it?
Yeah.
Do you know what the tickets are for people listening?
Oh, it's a good one. It could be about $100, maybe more. That could be because there's different days. You can go to different days, and you can go to the presentation evening.
Yeah.
And you can do the one day is free, where people can come and just buy prints. They can buy different memorabilia. They can meet the fighters.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good day.
Yeah.
And what I like about is Ray he'll have a massive list of people who attend.
Yeah.
Who are not being inducted. Maybe they're past inductees and they're coming as just
as guests.
As guests, and it's a big list.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really good.
So I suppose, especially people that follow you, once this is edited, and we'll put this out as a short, so you can have that on your page, and they can keep seeing that.
Lover.
Yeah, well, it's good. Well,
Yeah.
we've got to promote it because it's obviously something you're passionate about. One final question, I think, unless there's anything else you want to add, so feel free. But it's a personal, curiosity of mine. Did you ever, in all the times that you've been in any of these places, Las Vegas and all the other big fights, ever see Sylvester Stallone?
Oh, do you know what? There was an event with Sylvester Stallone anyway, it was put on by an Experience With.
Yes.
And he left.
He left?
Well, we were in the VIP area, and I had done about 3 different pieces, and I would have loved to have chatted with him as well, because he's an artist.
Yeah.
Sylvester.
I know, I've seen some of his stuff.
So yeah, but he cancelled. He came, he done the event, but then he had to shoot off. But people had paid for the VIP experience, and so we missed, and I missed the opportunity. But
oh, gutted. Gutted.
Yeah,
I love him.
That was a bit gutting, because that would have been a lovely, just to have that little conversation with him about his art and about the stuff I'd done,
Did you watch his documentary on Netflix?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, really enjoyed that
his
one.
daughters are great.
Yeah. I really like Sylvester Stallone, and I just thought, I know a man that's definitely come across Sylvester Stallone. Obviously not.
Nearly.
Flat. I really thought you were going to say, oh yeah, we sat down and we talked for hours. We're besties now.
That'd have been nice.
But nearly.
Yeah.
It's still time.
Yeah, well, something could happen.
Something could happen.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else you want to add. Have you got anything else you want to, any more shout outs, any names, like an Oscar speech? Who do you want to thank?
Nah.
I mean, Pat, I'll
probably start crying if I do that.
You probably will. But I like the fact that you did that.
I'm glad you didn't go deep. You could have gone a lot deeper.
I thought I've got to test the waters here.
Yeah.
And I saw the little face
I'm actually surprised that I went with Gary. Gary will he probably cry himself.
Well, but it's lovely. I just think it just shows, again, all that has done is confirm everything that I've said about you. You're just a really lovely person.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And I think nostalgia is big for you.
Yeah, it is.
Because you had I think
that's my mum and dad, I was very lucky.
Yeah, I know.
Growing up, very loving family.
Oh, he's gone again.
Lips corner, yeah. No, just holidays twice a year.
Yeah.
He's very brought up with a lot of love.
And you said something about your mum earlier, and I've got to do it, Pat. I'm sorry, but you've got this real empathy, and I said to you, with this life you've led, where you felt so lucky and you felt so happy. It's amazing, really, that you're so empathetic towards other people, because, with these kids you work with and you follow all this sort of personal development stuff and mental health, so you've got so much empathy and so much sympathy for people. You've just got such a lovely heart. And I said it's often the case when people have had that lifestyle that they're kind of like, well, I'm all right, sod everybody else. But you're really, really in touch with other people and their emotions and your own. And I said to you earlier, I said, how's that happened? And you told me a little thing about your mum. Please tell me again.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I mean, it's for the
Actually, I could tell you a better one.
Oh, go on then.
Well, I was Well, I'll tell her that one then.
Yeah.
Because what did I say? I said that
you used to cross the road.
Crossing the road or something, and there was some special handicapped person coming across, and my mum would say, and I was just a child.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, look, they're very special people." She said, you got to take care of people like that, sort of thing. And I filled up early, I know. But then, there was I shouted at my mum this one day. Dad had passed, but Mum, maybe her car was in having an MOT or something, and she needed a lift to the bank. So I took my mum. I'm not going to get upset. So I took my mum to the bank, and my mum was just didn't stop going on about my driving, about the speed, and I was doing the speed limit. She didn't stop, and I never shouted at my mum.
Yeah.
But I did shout, and I really shouted. I meant, just shut up. It was really bad. And then I dropped her at the bank, and she got back in the car after, and I said, "I'm so sorry, Mum. I said, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to shout you." She said, "Unconditional love, son."
Oh, you said you weren't going to get upset, and you did. She's got a lovely nature, hasn't she?
Yeah.
What's your mum's name?
Good. Linda.
Oh, Linda. I mean, I think I love your mum. Lovely Linda.
Can't believe I went then.
Do you know what? If we had the music rights, do you know what I'd play? I'd play Hue and Cry's Looking for Linda at this part. But we haven't got the rights. We won't be able to play. I could ask them. I'm sure they'll say no because they'll have to ask their record company, everything. But what a lovely lady. She's really instilled a lot of like... And she just gets... I think she just gets you, and she also gets how to relate.
No, my sister wouldn't be like this, mind.
No.
I don't think she'd be too completely different, as in that respect. I think I'm quite sentimental like that.
You are sentimental.
But I don't think my sister is.
That's not a bad thing, is it?
I don't think she is. She might listen to this now and say I was wrong.
She might cry listening to it. And they go, "How dare you say that about me? I'm a very emotional, sentimental person." But no, I think you've just got something lovely. And I just wanted to talk a bit about your mum and dad today as well, because I know they're fundamental in your personality.
Yeah, they were very just supportive, really.
Which the reason it's a very good thing. The reason that matters is because it makes the difference between a child that believes in themselves and their dream and a child that doesn't.
Well, they never ever said, like, you have to go to college and study this or do that.
They let you be you.
Yeah, they just let me be me.
Which is the best thing they could have ever done. And any parents listening, really, I think so many parents feel that they've got to get their kids in every single club. They've got to make sure they're saving for their university, even though the child's only 3 and hasn't even decided, whether they like art or engineering. And actually, one of my clients, I've got to tell you this, one of my clients, I won't say his name, is 77, and he has started to take up art in his retirement. It's very good, yeah. He does landscapes, that's his favourite thing, but he goes to an art class, he does 2 of them a week, and he was an engineer for many, many years, and I've worked with him for a long time, and he's had generalised anxiety for a long time. I really love working with him. Quite a funny guy, and loves his sport, actually. Loves his sport, mainly cricket, but he loves his sport. Anyway, long story short, he talks about a pivotal moment when, we're going back a long time because he's 77, where in his school, the school would decide whether he should go into this category, which was more arty, or this category, which was more science and maths and that sort of thing. And they chose for him to go into the art sort of side of the timetable, I guess. And his dad, who was a neurobiologist, said, "No, I want him to go into the science and maths." And he ended up missing the trick, really, of being the artist, and because his dad wanted him to follow his footsteps.
I use so much of that.
Yeah, and he ended up doing sciences and then ended up doing mechanical engineering, and he loves transport, he loves steam engines and all that sort of stuff, and he worked in transport. But we recently discussed the fact that was pivotal in perhaps the beginning of the anxiety, the beginning of the what ifs, the beginning of the, not feeling completely fulfilled and not being able to live out your authentic self.
Yeah.
And what your mum and dad gave you was the ability to live your authentic self.
Yeah. And
and look where you got to. And that's powerful. And that's why I wanted to reference them.
Definitely.
So that,
big thing.
Parenting is not just about,
you've got to
steering.
Because I think we do all have like a some sort of talent.
Yeah, we do.
Doing something. Everybody has something.
Yeah, they do.
And then whether it's nurtured or whether it's brought out,
discouraged or not as well.
Yeah, discouraged or not. And what's the saying? What's his name?
This could have been a moment, but you can't remember the saying or his name.
Yeah, I can remember the saying. All on your when you've got all your.
Come on, Pat.
I know.
You can get there.
Come on. When you've got all your talents around your bed, on your deathbed.
Yeah.
And they're saying you could have used me.
Yes.
Les Brown.
Les Brown's
and
great.
He says you could have used me.
Yeah.
Why didn't you use me?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be horrible if you were on your deathbed and you had your talents all around you?
It would be awful. Yeah. Looking at you going, what was wrong with you, you idiot? You could have had a much better life. Follow the dream.
Follow the dream.
Follow the dream.
Follow the dream, peeps.
Ah, what a way to end. What a way to end. I can't thank you enough for coming all the way down.
Apart from my little
No, I like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you don't, but I do. I like to see emotion.
It's so funny because my mate said, you're going to cry.
Did you say no?
I probably did. I said, nah, don't think so.
I think we managed three little cries.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's so sentimental. People don't really know that about me, I don't think.
Well, they will now.
No, my mum or my dad said he was sentimental. But, there's no way. The only time I ever saw my father cry was when I went to college.
Really?
Yeah, and he was at the shed.
Oh.
And my mum, I think my mum was Jimmy, and I went up and he was in the shed, bawling his eyes out. I'm going to miss you, son, he said.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But my father was such a big guy.
Yeah.
He was 21 stone.
21 stone?
He was big.
Yeah.
But he was...
Did he like his food?
Yeah, but he was still... His back was... he's a big man.
Like a gorilla.
So that was the moment... That was the only moment, I think, I ever saw my dad cry.
That shows how much he loved you, though.
Yeah.
What was his name?
John.
John, that's right.
Killer.
That's what they used to call him.
By all accounts.
Was he loved
Killer Killian.
Killer Killian.
That would have been my nickname too if I turned pro.
Yeah, what a great... Well, you can still call yourself that. I mean, how well that will go down in public, I don't know. Killer Killian. No, great episode. I've loved it.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
No, don't thank me. Thank yourself. You did it. On that note, I've left him speechless. Thank you, Patrick Killian.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Ella.